Record. Ooh, okay. Very loud recording. All right, let's take a look at some of these pieces. We got Mitchell's, let me see. Okay, let me do low-hanging fruit, simple things first from probably Maya's. Maya, the main thing here is sort of like the form of your clouds. Right now, it just kind of feels like 2D cards stacked on top of each other. You know what I mean by that? Like, say, for example, if I don't know, if this was a cloud that was getting lit by the sun, this top part, I guess, would also be lit, also get hit by that lighting. There would be kind of a gradient. It's kind of hard because you're also kind of showing this from a point of view that, I don't know, it doesn't give us the opportunity to show the roundness of the cloud. Let's see if I can fix that. I'm trying to look at the form here. And so say, for example, if this was my core shadow. See how that immediately kind of rounds out that form? Right there. Maybe over here too. I'm trying to think of these things as little clusters of grapes, you know? Yeah, like little spheres. So like, say for example, right here, that kind of needs some help here. And probably around here as well. And then we go one darker, right? See how that starts feeling more rounded out, Maya? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's not just a bunch of planes. It's kind of almost like this part needs to. Yeah, think of it like grapes. All right. I think you might have blown this out a little bit too hot. Like this part starts looking, it's okay for the, is the sign metal? Okay, but the wall probably isn't metal, so we should kind of tone it down to more of a matte finish. And then also if the sign's metal, we can also play around here with uh, highlights. So probably like that. Things like, just so that the letters look embossed or something. That Tiny's junkyard. I assume Tiny's a big fella. Like it's a irony. Yeah. Um, Part of the um issue here too is like everything's so dark and saturated. I'm not seeing a lot of atmospheric perspective going on as well. So let's bring some of that back. Okay. So if you have it on separate layers, great, because then it'll be a lot easier to do that. But I'm just gonna give you a quick selection here. But basically all the stuff in the back there doesn't feel like it's way back there. It feels like it's too far forward here. So let's just knock it back a bit with some dust, some atmosphere. You know, and you can even kind of blend it if you wanted to. It's not so obvious where it starts, right? And that'd be the case back here too. Like that, right? I think a lot of this stuff in the foreground is like really saturated, so I might, I don't know. Just gonna do a saturation layer. Yeah, I'm just gonna paint out some of this. Use a soft brush. Like too much, right? I always kind of go overboard and then I'll tone it back a little bit afterwards. So then from here, you just lower the opacity there. That's pretty good, about 30%. So this is where we were at, and then I'm just kind of toning down that saturation. You could probably, if you wanted to, you could keep that saturation for like maybe more of the building itself, if you want that to be a point of focus. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you use like the control V instead of like you don't even press control J, you can control saturation.
Oh, because I wanted it to localize it. I guess I could do control U, but then mask it, I guess. But I don't know. I just made a saturation layer here and desaturated it. But you can, from there, I can actually delete that, and now my building's kind of back. It's just that ground was really popping forward. I just wanted that ground to kind of recede a little bit. Okay. But overall, pretty good here. Just knocking in some atmosphere and such. So let's see. Notes. All right. Next. Let's see. This one's the hardest. All right. Saturation for yours as well, Mitchell?
Yeah.
Also, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are these bridges up here? What are
Yeah,
they?
that was the idea.
Okay, but what are they bridges for?
I guess was the idea was that I was gonna do like maybe something like this. This is like still for this concept, and then I was gonna like erase this out, and it's like ways up, and then it's like something up there, so it kind of like arcs around and kind of puts this more focus. That was an idea I had,
Oh,
but as a first pass. But I haven't
Yeah.
drawn that in yet, so I understand.
Oh,
why
okay.
they-
Yeah, they just looked like they were like laid on
put on
top
up
of the
and
hill,
down.
and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, oh, what are they there for, you know? But yeah, you may have to, I wouldn't put it stacked right on top of
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the
well,
church.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like it's,
I know.
Like,
Yeah, I know
you
exactly.
probably don't need this middle one.
All
That's what I mean. You could do the one off in the distance,
Mhm.
but get rid of that middle one. The bridge in the foreground is super saturated. By the way, is like there's something that they always push back on for me is I'm not sure if TVs are the same way anymore, but there's certain colors that are like beyond what a TV can show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's like especially within the red
Mhm.
region. And so I'm always having to desaturate my reds in my pieces. It's almost like you need to use it very sparingly. So I'm just gonna select around here. See what this might look like a little bit less saturated.
Alright, I like to see.
Same trick. No, not as screen, add saturation. And then lower it. Oh, yeah, like that feels a little bit more. Whereas, you know, now when I switch back and forth, and this is on my monitor and
Mhm.
not on the projector,
Yeah.
but like this almost feels like nuclear. Like it's,
Like it's Nuka-Cola.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then this feels more like within the palette of our work. And that has to do with like how green the
How
greens
they
are.
Mhm.
So then your reds have to be
Less
less,
saturated. Okay.
yeah.
So if I can ask this
Uh-huh.
in the kind of the context of, this was kind of more in the context of something more stylized and cartoony, but still obviously the rules apply where it's like you can't have everything be saturated because if you do, that's two. If it was-
Yeah, I mean, you could,
Mhm.
it's just, it will feel more,
Mhm.
like even within the realm of cartoony stuff,
Mhm.
it's like you've got Disney preschool versus Disney you know, tunes versus Disney feature films.
Compared to this piece with this red door.
Yeah.
All right. This is
So in that piece, they
Mhm.
desaturated the green.
yeah. So the red works.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's why that feels better.
Yeah. But I think it has to do with like these very like, you know, these
Mhm.
are like, what do you call that green?
Uh,
You know, it's like
deep
a,
forest.
yeah, it's like a really, really powerful green there. What I would do though
Mhm.
is uh you have this light that's shining on the bridge,
Mhm.
and the light is actually kind of yellow,
Yeah.
and I would actually shift that red
Mhm.
more towards like an orangey yellow
Okay.
where it's getting hit by the light. So we can create a new layer here. Go to color dodge. Uncheck those things. And I'm just gonna paint this in for now just to be quick, but let's see if this works. Yeah, that could work. See how like it could still be whatchamacallit? It could still get brighter
But
without going like, it's more like a orangey red,
Mhm.
and that works better with this light that's getting hit on. You know, you could see it in the on the ground there too. Right?
I know.
So let's bring it in here. Here. And then we can. And all I really did there was brought in kind of a yellowy kind of light on there. You can even hit some rim on there if you want.
did a little bit of.
Yeah. Up top. It's just a lot warmer. It's almost like better to emphasize not so much the local color of the, you know, the red paint on the bridge, but more so the color of the warm light. Because then that also gives you form and other things too. Like say for example, if you wanted some of this stuff hit on the ground behind it. Look at that.
Oh, that looks nice.
Right. And it really brings out the silhouette too of this section right here. You can actually This one I will need a, selection on it. Sometimes there's kind of a romantic notion too, where it's like just the top of a building's getting hit by
Yeah.
by the light. And then you can actually, you know, bring that into your trees and all this other stuff too. I'm just curious as to how that would look. Right. See how that already been here, that's popping it forward now. Notice too how when I lit up the roof on that building in the back, like I didn't even need to hit the walls, but
You just hit. Yeah.
but yeah, like it immediately brings your eye there as a
Mhm.
focal point. But now you're getting a lot more depth coming off of it. I would probably also, you know, not make the tree behind
Mhm.
this bridge so dark. Like right now, you've got a lot of dark stuff behind this bridge, but I'm not sure if the brick, you know,
Lighter.
yeah, you might want to lighten it up a little bit. And then erase back out. And that way the contrast on that bridge really pops. So let's take a look where we were at before, kind of flat
Mhm.
after.
Top.
Now the lighting really hits it. And a lot of it was there already, especially on the ground,
Mhm.
but this matched with that really helps.
Yes. Thank you. I really did.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take that. No, I'm-
Let's call it Mitch.
Thanks for spelling my name.
Is it?
A lot of people mess it up.
I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing.
Including.
And he's like your buddy.
I know. Thank you.
What's my last name?
Oh,
Max.
No, I'm not eating
all right, let's take a look here. Raj, right now, this is very stylized and flat. I think that the main thing here is just, you know, like, I think that it's maybe too early to start getting into textures. You know, you get what I mean?
Yeah, I just,
Like these textures here are actually almost hurting it in a weird way. But it's very difficult, I gotta say. You know, I could see you still want to make it feel like it's hand drawn, but a lot of these architectural elements, you know, they need some straight lines in there. And the way you do it is occasionally maybe you come back and you touch up some of this stuff to make it a little bit more, you know. Like give me some order on it. Say for example, the side of this sign right here, the street sign. Let's say the side of it is not lit, but the front of it is lit, right? So this gives you some contrast so that you can add in elements of form in there. So I'm just gonna darken this. Hide. You know, now that feels, it's got a side plane to it now, you know? I think you need to do that for all your signs going forward. This is tricky though, right here.
It's too saturated. When you see the actual. If you have to go like.
And then the side here also needs a little.
Yeah, but to be honest, like it's a logo, so you find it.
It's more like a, yeah,
And I pick that color and I just fill it in. Alt and backspace, that just fills it in like full opacity. I don't know, what are you trying to accomplish in terms of a style with this?
I actually like.
Do you have any like,
style, like.
yeah, I would look at some stuff and I have some recommendations for you to look at. Okay. Let me show you. Mary Blair. Mary Blair was a Disney concept artist. And she has this like geometric kind of style to it that kind of felt, and I'm looking at the colors that you were, you know, doing there, and it's kind of a flat stylized method of working, you know, but even with Mary Blair, you could see over here, like this blade of grass, she understands like the light's coming from the left-hand side. And so each blade of grass has got this sort of gradient fall off, right?
So as that 3-dimensional.
Yeah, it's simple, but it's still got form to it. It's still three-dimensional to it, right? Have you seen this artist before? Mary Blair? She's one of Disney's favorite artists. You know, all the designs for It's a Small World, very, very her. All the characters in Small World. But you can see here, it's like, you know, this is a forest, I guess, but it's almost like more like a strange mushroom blob, you know, that kind of resembles a forest, you know, so there are stylizations that can happen, right?
Actually,
This looks more like a forest, maybe.
when I saw the piece, it
Yeah.
kind of reminded me of something like Samurai Jack.
Oh, yeah. So that's Gendy Travasky. I think Gendy.
But if you go to like the sci-fi stuff,
Yeah.
especially for like the.
Yeah, he's got all these shapes and such. But I would still, you know, make sure you got your form down. And if you're gonna go with like a Samurai Jack style, like be very bold, you know, with your design on it, you know. But yeah, this is also a really good touchstone to base it off of. Let me see, Ivan Durrell. I don't know how to spell Ivan Durrell, but there you go, Ivan Durrell. So Ivan Durrell did about 70% of the background paintings in Sleeping Beauty. Okay, so normally in an animated feature, they get a lot of different artists to do the background paintings. But in the case of Sleeping Beauty, he did like almost all the backgrounds.
Oh,
And it took 7 years. It took a long time to make that movie. So almost all of the stuff that you see in the backgrounds of Sleeping Beauty painted by one guy. you know,
How much money do you get paid for that?
I don't know, but 7 years worth. You know, but you could see how like stylized it is. It is to this day one of the most beautiful films that Disney has made. I mean, you know, say what you will about the music and the story and stuff, but at least like visually, the design on it is beautiful. Everything from Maleficent and her castle to Sleeping Beauty's forest and all that, you know. So just a few, you know, touchstones to look at, you know, and I think you
Yeah,
You know.
it cleans it up.
yeah, clean these up, take a look at some of those references, gather the reference, make a mood board, and really look at like how they would tackle this. Okay. The other thing too to keep in mind is just figuring out like what the forms are, right? Like when I see this circle here, is that circle a sphere or is it a flat disc? You know, but even a disc has thickness to it. Yeah.
What if it's a sphere, but it's like a light, like a lamp?
Right.
How would you like describe the form of that? Would you have like a radiating?
Okay, so is it glowing? Okay, so if it's a lamp and it's glowing, it's tricky because if it's a lamp and it's not glowing, then I would see the specular highlights on it, like, you know, like you would render out a ball. But because it's glowing, that means the light is coming from inside, which actually means that you'll have to, by the way, I think your image is very low res. You see all this jaggies right here. Yeah, so that's not good for a portfolio, just so you know. You know, you want things to be.
Could I like re-res it? Stroke.
Yeah, I would when you're such a full with these are like very simple shapes, it'd be easy for you to just repaint over it, you know? So if I were to transform selection. By the way, I don't know if you know this, you could actually transform your selection rather than, you know, what do you mean? Okay, so I made a circle here, right? But that circle doesn't match up to Raj's circle. So if I were to go to select and go transform selection, I can actually tweak the circle so that it fits, you know, the scale, the size, right? And then I hit enter, and now I can actually paint over the top of it here. So I can go like this, and let's just say, actually, let's say we go like that, like a darker value to start with, and then we'll do a circular gradient, and I'll just kind of. So this is how you get a glow effect going, you know? You start off with like a slightly darker value for the edge, and then you have like a lighter value coming out the center of it. And then afterwards you actually put a blurry glow bloom around everything. Okay, I'll show you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let me show you. It's actually, you got to do it in several parts, but you see how this feels like it's glowing now? Okay, so it's basically I've got this gradient going out from center out, and it doesn't matter that the edges is more of a peach color, right? And then now I'm going to make another layer, and I'm going to make a bloom like that. You see how that really feels like it's glowing now? Because I've got this glow, basically another glow layer. Now, if you really wanted to sell that even more, you make the objects around it also pick up the lighting from it, as if, you know, it's like, you know, a light source on form. So I'll show you how to do that. See how that's kind of like a round arch, right? So as it kind of moves away from it, it gets less, but at this area where it's turning, it's kind of, it's pretty bright.
Nothing.
And that's because it's being affected by that light. So if you kind of consider that on all the objects around it, then, like say, for example, if this green sign up above here, let's say the bottom plane of it here is getting hit with some of this glow. Right. And maybe not that bright, maybe a little bit darker. But then let's put in a side plane here. I'm not sure what color that'll be, but let's say make it dark. You see how that's getting a little bit of that glow now too? And you can even enhance it some more by doing it this way. Off from the middle, this section here gets a little bit more, because it's closer. So that really feels like it's glowing now, right? So it's several parts, right? The first part is making sure that, your initial thing looks like the glow is coming in from the center out. Second is the bloom of the light that's glowing around it. And the third thing is all the objects around it need to be affected by the lighting on it. Yeah.
So one more question.
Yeah.
How would you make the lighting on the building look interesting? Because
Interesting is a weird word. What do you mean?
when I was doing my lighting initially,
Mm-hmm.
felt like it just kind of came out flat.
Well, right now it's not lighting anything, right? And that's why it's coming off flat. Meaning, you see what I did just here? You need to do that for all the signage too. You get what I mean by that? Like for example, if you do have a big glowing red sign, I mean, what does that look like normally? Let me show you. Liam Wong. Did you look at this this photographer? Fantastic. Okay, so you see what happens when there's like a red neon sign? It's actually affecting the wall and any objects around it. That's exactly what I just did with this ball, right? So what do we need to do with this red sign? Yeah, but then also it's gonna have to affect, that red is gonna have to be cast on all the objects around it, meaning all the faces that are facing this sign are gonna be affected by this red color. Like a lot. Like even this wall right here. And by the way, this is not easy to do, just so you know. Because there's so much going on in terms of color, but I would just tackle it one at a time, like each layer is kind of focusing on a specific color, right? So say for example, if this is my color and I want to make sure I paint this on a separate layer. See how that immediately is casting red on the wall? Okay. And then on top of that, what? We've got our bloom that we talked about. So actually, let's set the bloom layer as a color dodge.
Oh, no.
It's almost like that, like.
Would you erase like the parts that were like red and then do another layer?
I don't know what you mean.
So like the sign has two different like color. Right? Would you?
I
do, like,
think-
separate layers?
No, I would just pick a color like, you know. Like, I don't know, do you want it more red or do you want it more, like if you wanted more reddish pink or something like that, you would kind of go like that. You want it green, you could actually change it on the fly. And this is just with my color dodge layer that I just put down. Right. That's actually pretty good right there. That actually feels kind of nice. But anyways, you're gonna have to come in and, paint it. Obviously.
You should avoid like photo backing. From them.
Yeah, I would avoid that for now. I would focus more right now on getting the forms down. Kind of, and the light. You can actually do a lot with simple forms and dramatic lighting. Just take a look at the backgrounds in Batman the Animated Series. Do you remember that show?
I may not have watched it because I was in India.
Oh, okay. The Batman Animated Series had really good backgrounds. See how simple that geometry is? And it's just, and I don't know if you know how they did this. They painted on top of black paper.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so.
I've seen these backgrounds.
Yeah, so these backgrounds, they achieved it by painting on black paper. So, and probably digital too afterwards, but very simple shapes, very simple geometry, but you can get a lot of drama just from that, So here you go. That's as an example, right? Like it didn't need any of the textures on that building, it's just gradients, right? So, when you get a chance, look up
What did you guys?
on YouTube some Batman animated series backgrounds, like, or just the show in general. They're good shows.
Yeah, I think I may have watched a few episodes, but I was.
Okay. But yeah, that's beautiful stuff right there. If you can give me like gradients like that, like very simple geometry. Cool. All right. Also keep in mind too is like competing lights. So maybe the ones in the background that you want to like be further away from us, maybe they're not as bright. Yeah, tone them down. This sign that looks like the letter P, this one is like, yeah, that'll be the one that has the biggest glow or that. Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. Let me save this out. Oh, it's notes. And we've got Bree. Spiral staircase. Are these clouds?
Yes. It's like clouds, how sometimes the clouds are really low, they'll like roll over the horizon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's the horizon?
No, it's nighttime, so once you go outside.
Okay. So there's some perspective issues. And I know you're trying to make it kind of stylish and cartoony and almost a little bit like Mary Blair and Samurai Jack as well. But I think there needs to be a little bit of sort of perspective correction on it.
I would appreciate that.
Okay.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah, it is a hard angle. Why did you pick this angle? It was interesting. Okay. All right, this is the horizon, I assume. Okay. So these cubes, let's say, they need to converge to a point where they would actually like point you at the horizon, right? So that's like the idea behind the perspective of it. So let's say, for example, if this is the curve that you're talking about here, as I draw, maybe it's more like curved perspective here, like this. And this is like me drawing with my full arm and keeping one hand on Control Z because I'm not going to get it right every time, right? But at least we have a sense as to like, you know, mapping out this curve here. Now the ones that really mess me up are these buildings or train cars or whatever that are way down there. They are not on straight level ground. They're like tilted and kind of, so I think those probably need fixed the most. Okay. As far as what you're doing here with the stairway, I would actually try to I would try my best to make them still feel like stairs. Meaning, like the steps need to still kind of go in like a step-like tier. When I was a student trying to learn perspective, I would go about it like the most difficult perspective problem I could find, 5-point perspective. And I figured if I could master that, then I've mastered perspective in a way. Ends up it's actually much harder. And it's what I ended up doing was I did 5-point perspective, but it didn't look so good. You know, it's like
For sure.
But for this assignment, I just have to stick with what I've got.
yeah. All right, so I'm kind of making the staircase kind of still a little bit tiered like that, you know, like the stair steps. And then on top of that, I think by the way, I'm gonna shrink this or lower the opacity on my perspective lines here. Because they don't really matter on this thing I'm about to do. The thing that really sells the stairs, like I had mentioned before, is like the handrail part of it. Now, the handrail here is not going to be a metal handrail necessarily. It'll probably be made of stone, much like this block that's off to the side of this pawn looking person. Yeah, so let's try this. And then I'm going to, oh no, some of this doesn't work. Okay. Oh wait, there's a light here. Okay, good. A little bit of light. Just gonna delete that. So that's the side plane. And oh my goodness, we need another perspective point. This is 5-point perspective. The reason why is because we're looking down as well. Like here, you kind of see this. It's probably going like that, actually. And the reason why this is important is the little vertical lines on my stairs need to kind of match up to it. Something like that. And then got a top plane to these stairs. Let's try it. Where's my light?
So the question is, we need to bump down the light above it. There's a couple of local light sources, like the big tower and the lantern. And
Yeah.
it's nighttime, so there's a little bit of moonlight from the sky.
Okay. And the direction of that moonlight, the left-hand side?
Yeah.
Okay. So you see how as it kind of goes away from us now, I kind of have it go darker and then as it gets closer to us, it's a little brighter right there. Cool. And that's going to be lit by our local light. And this section right here is probably going to be a cast shadow. Although I'm not sure if that's important, but like that, right?
Yes.
But at least it feels like railing, kind of.
Something, yeah.
And if you were to detail things up, let's see. The geometry would look something like that going down. Okay. So yeah, eventually you're gonna probably need to make this whole area cobblestone or something. Yeah, that's gonna be tough. All right. These buildings off in the distance here, they are a little jank right now, so.
Does like some shells do this show? So you don't
I
see
made
it?
them curve around that center. one, 'cause I thought it would look into it.
Yeah. But that's all fine for it to be around it, but you have to be kind of consistent with that. So the way we do that. So let's say, for example, this is the center part right here. The lines would radiate out from here, I believe. That one's fine. That one's fine. Yeah, it's mainly this first one. It's funny how just correcting this one little one will help. It's a little tough, but yeah, a little. What is this, what is glowing here in the middle here that's casting the shadow on the left?
That's like a giant tower. I'm doing fantasy set in the desert, like how there's with canyons and stuff like that. So I wanted to have this sort of mysterious glowing tower. The area around it is going to be city and boxes. I just did only some of the boxes because I had to turn it in an assignment. I could spend like hours and hours and hours figuring out every single little detail.
Uh-huh.
So that area around it, that's all sort of grayed out, is going to be more than city.
Aye, aye, aye. I think you've picked the hardest thing to do and may want to, reduce your scope to be something a little bit more manageable.
You made Whoville.
Doing interior. Big,
But I think even still, like, even if we even if we weren't doing interiors, I think this is still too big. So,
what, how would I go about reducing the scope?
it's a small town in the desert instead of a big city. You know what I mean? Like, and if you want this to feel like it's glowing, you're gonna need to kind of, it's funny, but you're gonna have to make it a little darker. I'll show you. Yeah, I'm not sure what the shape of this building is. Let me show you.
Are you gonna be offering that next year?
No, I'm not gonna be teaching. Oh, wait, next year?
Yeah, like probably the spring semester.
I have no idea. I don't know what I'm gonna have for dinner next week, so I don't know about next year. All right. This is what I mean. Check this out. So if I darken the edges here, it actually makes this thing feel like it's glowing more. See that? It's like localizing that, you know, a little bit. Okay. Now it probably doesn't have to go that dark, but it's just trying to show, you know. And is this a building here? What does that mean? Is it structure made by humans?
It's not a finished product, it's just a block, so I can understand that I wanted material there.
Oh, okay.
So if you
Okay.
want to demonstrate it as a building, you can,
Okay.
but yeah, no, it's just understanding.
All right. Well, let me turn it into something. I don't know. And then we could I think the way to really sell it, if you are gonna make it a building, are like little windows. Like that. And I did this on a separate layer for a reason. Let's flip that one. Yeah, it feels like an instant building, I guess. Currently your clouds feel almost like they're rendered out of clay. You know what I mean? Like they don't feel, I don't know, airy, and also they're so bright. They're so bright, like they're lit in the daytime. And so I'm not sure if that's, yeah, yeah. So just straight off the bat, Control Shift C, Control V. I'm just selecting your clouds onto us and copying them onto a separate layer. And then, I don't know, let's Gaussian blur it. Whoa, that's too much. It's Gaussian blurring it. Maybe a little bit like that. And then we can also, I feel like you would, in order to get that curvature right, I think you would have to actually like manually go in with the smear brush. That's gonna take a long time in Photoshop, just so you know, but the other way is you can just paint it. I don't know what kind of brush you want to use, but see if there's like a,
Oh, that's like happening behind when the lights, that was already out.
dang it, not like that. I'm gonna play around with this mixer brush.
Is she,
So, I don't know if you played around with the mixer brush before. Okay, if you make a new layer. And you have this thing, it's, the mixer brush is this brush tool with the little eye drop, drop of water next to it. On the top, you have to click on sample all layers, like that. And basically what it does is, it kind of smears what you got. And I think you can choose different brush tips for it and such, but, not sure. Yeah, I see how. Well, right now it's at like 100% flow. Let's make it at slower, the effect of it. So what it's doing is it's kind of creating the effect of oils, you know, like what you would expect from oils. See, that's not a mixer brush tool. What other tips could I use on my mixer brush? Dang it. Right. Soft round pressure size. Okay, so if I color pick, it kind of, like oils, it kind of takes what I've got on my color pick as well as what's on the canvas, and it kind of smears it around a little bit like an oil paint. And usually the best one for a mixer brush is some kind of a weird streaky brush. Like a nice wet kind of brush. Yeah, it's kind of like that. So this is how you kind of get like a nice little oil effect. And I would only suggest using this sort of towards the end. Sort of as a finishing tool. I wouldn't start a painting with the mixer brush. Because you're just gonna end up looking like a bunch of like, I don't know, random brush strokes.
Yeah, it's mostly used for texture.
Exactly. You know, and in this case, the reason why I'm using it is because I want this to feel wispier. And you kind of do that through a series of. It's so tricky too. It's just, I don't know. You could do this all day, actually. And you just kind of keep picking local color and then play around with it some more. The good news about it is all these changes, like as far as like these smeary lines that I've been doing here, it's on this layer. So it's not destructive, you know? So even if I wanted to mess with it here later on, I can. Like, for example, if I wanted this to put a motion blur on it a little bit, I could. Even more wispy, right? So something like that. It's fine. You know. But all that being said, it's still too bright, I think. So let's just knock this stuff back. And this is with the gradient tool. I'm choosing this ground color for the bottom there. I'm choosing this for dark sky color. I mean, I would encourage you to go out at night and take a look at what the clouds look like in the sky at night, how dark they blend. But yeah, stay safe though. All right. Something like that, right? So now yeah. But then you might want to actually pop this a little bit more. Meaning this rock here. Actually, it doesn't make so much sense for this rock to be so bright up here. So maybe that's the key. Just kind of make it like that. And then it's this face here that's actually the bright face. You've got a little bit of this local light happening, but I think you could play it up more. My art director used to tell me, just sell the shit out of it. So. Something like that makes sense. I'm still a little bothered here, so I'm thinking maybe our mountain rock thing needs to be even darker. And it's okay that it's super dark because why? Yeah, but also because it's like our foreground. This is like about as close as things get to the viewer here, right?
Yeah.
So this separates us from, the clouds down there. Like all this stuff down here could actually get a little bit of a hazy atmosphere. Yeah. And that would actually help knock back some of this stuff because I see like around what are those, plants or something? Like those, they're maybe too dark. Yeah, so let's make another layer here and hide. It is tricky though, because yeah,
Like concept art for projects and stuff like that. Assign you like environment, prop, or character, or are you kind of covering all?
it's depending on the need, and the more that you are capable of handling, the more valuable you are to the team. So sometimes I'll do a character, but rarely. Most of the time I would be working on environments and props that are related.
So you would do both environment and prop.
Yes, most of the time. And that's just because it's mostly what's asked for and needed. There have been occasions where we can come in and do like weapons and characters, and those are really fun. But you could see how I just want to knock back some of these values back here. And I'm not picking white. I'm picking sort of this gray that you have on the ground.
Yeah.
So it just lowers the contrast and brings all this stuff further away from us.
Is there on it? There's no question.
Sure. Let's get close.
Right, yeah. Awesome.
So you can see how all that stuff down there got real dark before. And you just almost want it not so much bright and not so much dark, but you want it hazy. Yeah. So there you go. Some other neat things on your lighting here. I'd say this plane right here on the side, it's probably going to be dark. And that's also going to cast a shadow.
Yeah, you said it would be so much.
It is, it should be kind of pointed towards the left. If that's the local light, the lamp we got going there. Oh, well, no problem. Yeah. Now that's starting to feel a little better, I think. Things you could also play around with is something called ambient occlusion. And what that is like in crevices and nooks and crannies, you can actually fake in a little bit of darkness. I'll show you. Because you see the two values here are very similar to one another. So if you kind of did that, it almost like creates a little faux shadow. Like, and it happens on crevices and stuff where light kind of gets, trapped or, it doesn't come out. So you can actually do that to kind of separate that. And I would consider that when dealing with the staircases, because right now you have each step as almost like a different color. But let's say, for example, if you did this treatment on it, yeah, then it would actually feel like the same substance, same material is going down. So any case, that's what I got for now. I mean, it's still in its very basic geometry stage, but we could see like where we were, and now it's a bit more moody, and a bit more atmospheric, right? So later on, when you really want to play and sell the ideas here, like you may want to like bring some long, yeah, like, well, actually light, I guess, but yeah. Things like that.
Yeah.
On the ground. That really helps sell it. Same thing with all these little windows right here. Okay. Now you're gonna have to figure out what it is on your tower that is actually glowing. Is it a light that's being that's shining on the tower, and then we're getting that reflection? Or is there a glowing object within the core of this thing, and it's made out of crystal or something that's creating the glow? Right.
Oh, it's glowing on the inside and it's made of glass. That's what's happening.
Okay.
But I would look at the concept of a couple towers, and I'm not so sure that that's gonna fit perfectly. So I might change it. But
Okay.
I don't find a way to like centralize the light or make it more understandable.
Yeah. If it is like coming from within, you may even consider kind of like the thing's a prism. And so like there might be like rays of light almost coming off of it, and that'll be difficult to render out, but it'll be fun though. Okay. All right, that's all I got for now. I will stop recording.